Welcome, everybody. This is the Nakshatra Gurukul and the Whiteboard session that I've started on my YouTube channel. Nakshatra Gurukul is a refreshing, thought-provoking series of interviews that I do with researchers, scholars, students of Nakshatras, who present their original findings and teach us new ways of understanding and mastering the divine secrets of these lunar mansions. Now, today I have Bharat Ram, and whenever he comes on my channel, he kind of wows us with his techniques. They're very, very simple, but they're very, very profound. And today he has a couple of tricks up his sleeve, and he's going to talk about mind reading through astrology. So welcome, Bharat. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pai. Pleasure being here. Dr. Pai, I'm going to start by showing you some magic.
Right.
I'm going to read your mind and take out all the nakshatra knowledge out of it.
Wow.
So I'll leave a copy behind.
Sure. Okay. You should have told me before. I would have actually backed up some of my data on a memory stick. Yeah.
So, Dr. Pai, I'm going to begin with a mind reading technique, okay, which your viewers may find very interesting, and I'm actually going to read your mind.
Okay.
I want to tell all your viewers that you and I have not discussed this as to how I'm going to perform this. Okay, so there is no collusion between you and me.
Okay.
I'm just performing it. You don't know what I'm going to do. Okay, so you have not given me something and I'm not going to repeat that. Okay, so it's a genuine mind reading exercise, but I will come to more on that after we finish this exercise.
Sure. Okay.
So Dr. Pai, I have with me in my hand a small notepad, okay, which is, I'm going to keep it on my right hand, okay, and it will be continuously on the camera, so you can see that it will be always here. And I'm also going to have, I have on my left hand a pencil, okay? Now I am going to write down on this notepad a 3-digit number. Okay, this is now live recording, so there is no editing which will happen because I don't do the editing, if at all you do so, and you're not going to do any editing. So I'm going to write down a 3-digit number with this pencil in my left hand on this note. Okay. Okay, I have written down a 3-digit number on this note. Now, I would like you to think of any absolutely random 3-digit number which has some association in your life. It doesn't matter what association in your life, but if you give me, and I don't have the pencil in my hand now, okay, I've kept it down, so I cannot write anything now. So please give me a 3-digit number which is a completely random 3-digit number which just comes to your mind, which has some association in your life. It can be any association, it doesn't matter. So would you give me a 3-digit number?
Yeah, it's 191.
Yeah, 191.
Yeah.
Is that number? Is that the number you gave me?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want to show you, Dr. Pai, that I wrote down the number, okay, before you even thought of the number, okay? And I'm going to show you now what number I wrote down before you gave me the number.
Wow.
Can you see that clearly?
Yes, fantastic. This is superb. Absolutely. We can see it, 191.
Yeah, okay. So this is to prove, Dr. Pai, that a mind can be read. A mind can be read either through magic, okay, that was not astrology, that is magic. So either you can read the mind through magic, which is actually based on a sleight of hand. It's a kind of a deception where I deceive you or trick you into believing that I read your mind,
right.
But I did not read your mind. Okay, so this is magic, which is quite thrilling when you experience it, but astrology has a different magic where you can actually delve into the mind of the querent and actually tell the querent what the querent, what question the querent has even before he tells you the question. Okay. So I will now begin my presentation.
But are you going to teach us how this magic was done to my viewers, the sleight of hand?
No, Dr. Pai, what I always think is that the magician has a code of conduct. The
Right.
magician's code of conduct is to never share secrets.
Right.
But the astrological code of conduct seems to be share all your secret.
I think that's really fascinating. Absolutely.
So, as far as my magic tricks are concerned, I got involved in magic, learning magic much before I got involved in learning astrology.
Right.
And my father's elder brother, who has 40 years of experience in Jyotish, he's not a professional, he's just a hobby astrologer like me. He told me, you're wasting the power of your 5th house, you're wasting the power of your 8th house. Instead of learning magic, you should learn astrology. So I just then, gave up magic and got into astrology. But for the purpose of this particular presentation, I had got to, I practiced it some time and I got to kind of recall my skills on magic. So I'm not going to reveal the magic trick because magicians will be very upset, but astrologers will be very happy, with the mind reading which astrology can provide. And that is real mind reading. It's real, genuine.
Right.
Okay, and we will see with some examples how genuine is genuine.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So I will now share my screen. Sorry, just give me a moment.
No worries. So it's going to be the magic of Jyotish now.
Yeah, it's going to be the magic of Jyotish.
And this would be a magic without a magic wand in your hand. This is about the stars.
Correct. Okay, is my screen up? Is my screen visible now, Dr. Pai?
No.
Not yet. I think must be rendering. So I guess
yeah. Yeah, now we can see that. Yeah.
Okay. So our topic today is mind reading. The topic's index is why should we read the mind? What is the necessity for an astrologer to read the mind? Second is what is the Jyotish software that you need to read the mind? 3 are the mind reading techniques. I'm going to share 3 of my techniques. I know only 3, so I'm going to share all the 3 techniques. What are the caveats in mind reading? And there is some additional reading which somebody can do if they want to develop the skill. Now, the only genuine reason for an astrologer to read the mind is to find out if the querent is sufficiently engaged with the question. Because a prashna answer or a prashna prediction can come true only if the mind of the querent is sufficiently engaged with the question. It's a burning desire in his mind to get an answer. Only then will he ask the question at an appropriate time. And unless he asks the question at an appropriate time, the astrologer will not be able to give an answer. I have found in my hobby practice, I'm a hobby astrologer. I found in my hobby practice that whenever I find that the question is not reflected in the chart, then I am not able to come to a strong conclusion. But when the question is strongly reflected in the prashna chart, then I am able to give a very good answer. So there is only one reason why somebody should read the mind. But I'm not, one of those really sattvic people who stick to, mind reading only for the purpose of answering a prashna question. I read the mind when I am doing business negotiation. Suppose I'm given an offer. Let's say an offer comes, let's say it's a business deal, or let's say I'm negotiating a rent with somebody. How do I know whether I can push the envelope further, ask for a better price, ask for a better deal, All this can be revealed, or all this is revealed if you cast the question at the time you receive this offer. So I think it's an invaluable business tool if you use it appropriately. So I'm now going to go further into this, and I want to point out that you will need some KP software. Fortunately, there is some very good software available. First one is called Jyotish Deepika 5.2. It's available at krishnamurtipaddhati.com, and it's a free download. The only issue with this software is that works up to Windows 7, provided you have a .NET Framework version 4 installed in your Windows 7. The problem here is that all those who have updated Windows 7 to the latest patches will find that they have .NET 4.5 installed in their system. So if you know how to replace .NET 4.5 with .NET 4.0, then do it. Otherwise, don't ruin your computer for this. Then there is KP Star 1, which is a free download from KP Star 1. It works on all Windows versions. Then there is KP Astro 4.1, which is an expensive paid software, but it works. It's a very comprehensive software. And then mostly I use this Astro Wonderlight, which is an Android and iPhone app, which covers everything, whether it's Parashara Astrology or Gemini or KP or Ashtaka Varga. It's a very comprehensive app. So if somebody has not used it, they should use it. Okay. So I will now begin with the first method of mind reading, which is called the sublord method. Now, if you recall, Dr. Pai, we had done a video called Ruling Planets, which is how to predict things without knowing astrology on your channel. So there is a video available on your channel on how to read, how to predict things without knowing astrology. So there, this concept of sublord has been explained in fair amount of detail, but nevertheless, I will still explain the sublord concept in some detail. We all know that a nakshatra is 13 degrees 20 minutes long. If you convert 13 degrees 20 minutes into minutes, that is, you multiply the 13 degrees by 60 to convert into minutes and add 20 to it, which is the 20 you've taken from the first line. Each nakshatra becomes 800 minutes long. These 800 minutes are then subdivided into 9 unequal parts. The 9 unequal parts, each part is allotted to one planet, all the 9 planets. And how long each part is depends upon what is the length of, what is the duration of that planet's dasha in the Vimshottari dasha system. For example, if a planet is in the Sun nakshatra, then the first subdivision it will go into is the Sun subdivision. So it will become Sun star, Sun sub. So suppose a planet is in Uttara Ashada, which is in Sun's nakshatra, then the first subdivision will be Sun subdivision, and it will stay in the subdivision or sub of Sun for 800 minutes, which is a nakshatra length, into 6 by 120. 6 is the length of Surya Dasha in the Vimshottari Dasha system of 120 years. So it will stay in the sub of Sun for 40 minutes. Then it will go into the next sub, which is the Moon sub, which follows the Vimshottari Dasha system. So it will go into the Moon sub, and it will stay in the Moon sub for 800 into 10 divided by 120 is 66.66 minutes, or 66 minutes and 39.6 seconds. Then it will go into Mars for 800 into 7 divided by 120, and so on. So it goes into the various subdivisions. So that is a sublord. Sublord is the sub. We call the sublord the sub. Can I go to the next one, Dr. Pai?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, Dr. Pai, this is an example, my first example of reading the mind using the sublord method. It's the simplest technique. It almost works in 90% of the cases without fail. The technique is quite simple. This is a chart which I cast at the time when a querent asked me a question. So I said, let me first try and delve into your mind to find out what your question could be before even the querent asked me the question. This is a time chart, which means I just opened the software at the time I met the querent, which is at 8:44 p.m. on the 2nd of December. In this chart, you can see all the houses are placed here. The Lagna, the first house cusp, second house, third house, fourth, fifth, sixth, up to 12. All these houses are placed in some sign. All houses have to be placed in some sign. So for example, Lagna here is placed in the sign of Mercury, which is in Gemini. So it says here, Lagna is in Mercury sign. Then the Lagna is in the Nakshatra of Jupiter. Lagna is in the Nakshatra of Jupiter. We know that the Jupiter Nakshatra here is Punarvasu.
Correct.
So it's in the sign of Gemini, in the star of Jupiter, which is Punarvasu, and it is in the subdivision of Venus. Okay, so it's in the sub of Venus. So this is how all the house cusps, or all the houses, let's say for simplicity, are placed here, and the software tells us where each house is placed. Now ignore the sign of the houses, so which means you ignore column 1, you ignore in which nakshatra the house cusp is placed. Then you look at this column, in which sub is each house placed. Okay, what stood out for me at the time I just glanced at this chart was that out of 12 houses, Saturn was representing 4 houses. 4 houses were in the subdivision of Saturn. To me, it just stood out. So I just said, oh, Saturn seems to be extremely strong, and Saturn seems to be giving me some indicator. So let me look at Saturn. Then I looked at Saturn and I found that Saturn was representing the 3rd house, because Saturn was the 3rd house cuspal sublord. So Saturn was asking me to look at the 3rd house. Saturn was asking me to look at the 6th house, because it was a 6th house sublord. Saturn was asking me to look at the 9th house, because it was the 9th house cuspal sublord, and it was also connecting the 12th house. So Saturn was connecting 3, 6, 9, 12. Dr. Pai, you've not seen this chart before. You're seeing this for the first time. Though you do not know the Deshkal Patra, you do not know the Deshkal Patra. I know the Deshkal Patra of this native quite well. And I was able to, in 1 second, tell him, you know, this is the question in your mind. But without knowing the Deshkal Patra, Dr. Pai, would you like to take a shot at what the question in this querent's mind would be when houses 3, 6, 9 and 12 are connected? I know it is difficult to come to a conclusion without knowing the Deshkal Patra, but still, would you like to take a chance with saying what could be the question in the querent's mind?
Was he
connecting these 4 houses?
Was he looking to go abroad? Or was his question related to wanting to go abroad?
Absolutely, Dr. Pai, bang on. Without knowing the Deshkal Patra, looking to go abroad on a job, awaiting some correspondence is what I said. Are you awaiting some correspondence for, I mean, if you know the Deshkal Patra, you know that he's still here and, you know, applying perhaps or doing some communication correspondence. So it was very, very simple for me to say that your question is, when will you go abroad? Or when will you get some correspondence regarding going abroad? I said, so, you know, Dr. Pai, it's quite thrilling, you know, you just got it right, bang on. Though, if you look at this chart a little more carefully, you also see that Rahu is connecting the 2nd house. Rahu is connecting the 4th house. 4th house sublord is also Rahu. And Rahu is connecting the 8th house. It's just hidden by that red circle. Okay? But the 8th house is also Rahu. And Rahu is also the 10th house.
10th house, yeah.
So 10th house, 8th house, 4th house, and 2nd house. So to me, this will also give the same answer, you know, if we delve, but I did not even look at it, because there is one path which is very clear. So I said, why should I delve into another path which also seems to be leading me to a same conclusion? So I did not even bother about it, because I did think that Rahu is telling me that there is this native is going through some stress about some professional matters, and there is some income related problem regarding, the second house, and wealth related problem regarding that, and is connected, to either leaving home or setting up home someplace or something like that. But
Right.
to me, I was not able to come to a conclusion very, on a definite basis. So I just left it. And I just thought that Saturn gave me the answer very, very clearly. So I just said, you have come to ask me a question regarding your application or your correspondence regarding a job abroad, and when will it fructify? So, I didn't even spend, you spent 5 seconds on it. I
Yeah.
spent a little longer when I did it originally. But I think it just gave a very, very clear direction as to where one must look and what is going on in the client's mind. Since the question was very clear, this topic is only to read the mind. It's not next step, it's not to how and when he will go and all that. We are not answering here. But we are just reading the querent's mind, and the querent had this question in his mind. Now, this is a tougher one. This querent asked me a question, and again I said, let me first try and find out using the sublord method as to what could be the question in the querent's mind. First, I looked at all the sublords, and I saw Rahu, represented by the two red circles, was representing the Lagna, and it was representing the 5th house. So I said, okay, so there is Rahu, which is in the play. Then I looked at Saturn. Saturn was connecting houses 2 and 8. Saturn was connecting houses 2 and 8. And Moon was connecting houses 3 and 9, common sublord. But there was this dominant Mercury. There was this dominant Mercury which was connecting houses 4, the orange circle, houses 4, 10, and 12. 4, 10, and 12, the orange circle. So in KP astrology, I generally don't I try and avoid a retrograde planet period, because, it just makes the analysis a little more tedious. So I kind of avoided Mercury for 2 reasons here. First was Mercury was retrograde, which means even if it was giving me a clue, it was going to lead to some, something much later, because Mercury was going to become direct only on the 8th of Jan, which was, some days away, almost 10 days away from the date of this question. So I excluded Mercury from my calculation. I also saw that Mercury was not in the ruling planets. In Krishnamurti Paddhati, if you are in doubt, then look at the ruling planets for answers. The ruling planets was discussed in the last video on how to predict without knowing astrology. The ruling planets are 7: the Lagna sign lord, Lagna star lord, Lagna sublord, Moon sign lord, Moon star lord, Moon sublord, and the day lord. So it's all given here. The Lagna sign lord is Moon, star lord is Saturn, and sublord is Rahu. And Moon sign lord is Jupiter. It's given here. Star lord is Venus, that is in the nakshatra of Venus, and the sublord is Mars. And day lord being Thursday, it is Jupiter. So I excluded Mercury for 2 reasons. Number 1, it was retrograde, and number 2, it was not reflected in the ruling planets. So I said, I'm not going to look at Mercury for some results or in reading the mind. Then I saw Rahu could be Rahu could be giving me the result, or could help me in answering what the question in the querent's mind could be. But as we had discussed in the last video on how to predict without knowing astrology, that the Lagna sub and the Moon sub, these are reserve ruling planets. These are reserve. ruling planets. Like a cricket team reserve player, if somebody doesn't turn up, then you use. So Lagna sub and the moon sub are reserves. So I did not touch Rahu, I did not touch Mars, even though, Rahu appeared twice. So my only option was to look at Saturn, and Saturn, as we said in the previous video, we had discussed, the strongest ruling planets are the Lagna star, followed by the Lagna sign, followed by the moon star lord, followed by the moon sign lord, followed by the day lord. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the strongest ruling planets in priority of strength. So Saturn to me was the strongest ruling planet here. So I looked at Saturn, and Saturn was connecting houses 2 and houses 8. Houses 2 and houses 8. And I also took into account Moon, because Moon was the second strongest ruling planet, and Moon was connecting houses 3 and connecting house 9. 3 and 9. So of course, I knew the Deshkal Patra of the native very well. So I said, are you applying to some college for some research degree? Because second house is a secondary house of education. In some way, the second house, or a primary education, or some kind of an education, the second house represents. The 8th house is the house of research and investigation. And third house is the house of applications, admissions, interviews, etc.
Correct.
And the 9th house is the 7th house, is the third house from the 7th house. So, correspondence from the opposite end.
Correct. Absolutely.
So, yeah. So since I knew the Deshkal Patra of this native quite well, the age, prior experience, prior education, what the native plans to do in life, something like that, I said, I think your question is going to be perhaps applying to some college for pursuing a degree in research. And that was exactly the question in the querent's mind, that do you think that I will be successful in my application for a doctorate program? So this was a little tricky, but there are 3 methods of doing it. So I never, sometimes if one method, of course, I was able to come to a conclusion with this one, but if this does not work, I use method 2 and method 3 also. So, and then combine the results and come to a conclusion. So I will now go to the moon method of reading the mind. I want to point out here that in Krishnamurti Paddhati, it could be as well for other systems of astrology, but in Krishnamurti Paddhati, the planet first, whichever planet it may be, the planet first gives the result of its nakshatra lord. So let us say a planet Sun is placed in the 12th house of the horoscope, but let us say it is placed in the nakshatra of Mars, and Mars is, let us say, placed in the 9th house, or let's say it's placed in the 7th house of the horoscope. Then this planet, which is placed in the 12th house but in the nakshatra of Mars in the 7th house, will first give a result of Mars in the 7th house of its nakshatra lord. So let's say Sun is in the 12th house, let's say Sun in the 12th house in the nakshatra of Mars, and Mars in the 7th house. So Sun will give the result of Mars in the 7th house, but via the karakattvas of Sun.
Got it.
That is the rule of KP astrology, that first the planet will give the result of its nakshatra lord based on where the nakshatra lord is placed, but based on its own nature, its own karakattvas.
Correct. Got it.
Then the second result the planet will give is of its own occupation. So let's say Sun is in the 12th house, so Sun will then give the result of Sun in 12th house. Then Sun will give the result of the ownership of its nakshatra lord.
Right.
So Sun in this case is in the star of Mars, nakshatra of Mars. we have to find out which are the two houses which Mars owns.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Mars owns 4 and 9, let's say, for example.
Right.
Planet Sun, based in the 12th house, will give the results of Mars as the owner of 4 and 9 as the third result, third most powerful result.
Right.
And finally, the Sun will give the result of its own ownership, which house the Sun owns itself.
Right.
So, all planets will give 4 kinds of results in decreasing order of strength. First A, then B, then C, and then D in its dasha. Okay. So here we will look at...
Bharat, would it be the dasha of the nakshatra where the planet is posited? Or would you say the dasha of the planet itself?
Dasha of the planet itself,
okay.
During the dasha of its planet.
Okay.
Dr. Pai, I just want to clarify this since you raised the issue of dasha. Let's say we took the example of Sun. Okay, Sun in the nakshatra of Mars. So when there is Sun dasha, it will first give the result. When there is a dasha of Sun, it will first give the result of Mars in 7th house. First, it will give the result of Mars in 7th house. Then it will give the result of the house it occupies, in this case 12th. Then it will give the result of the house which is owned by Mars, let's say 4 and 9, let's say, for example. And then it will give the result of its own ownership, the house it owns. That is, at the dasha level, it will give results like this. In the antar dasha also, it will give the results of in this manner.
Okay.
But when it comes to the third level dasha, which is, you call it pratyantar dasha or pratyantar dasha, the third level dasha, the planet does not have the time to give the result of its star lord, because the dasha period is very long. So it gives the result of C and D only.
Okay, correct.
In the third level, third antar dasha, so dasha antar dasha, pratyantar dasha, the third level dasha, it gives the result of the house owned by its star lord, and it gives the result of its own ownership. Then if you come to the sukshma dasha, which is the smallest dasha in most software, of course you can go to prana dasha and all that, but I'm saying the 4th level dasha. In the 4th level dasha, the planet will give the results only of the ownership of its own houses. So Sun, let's say it owns the 12th house, let us say, or the 5th house or 4th house or whichever house, then it will give the results of its own ownership only in the 4th level dasha.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. So this is using the moon method example, where here the moon, we look only at the moon. We see that on the ABCD basis, we just saw how the planet gives the result. So first here, moon gives the result of the 7th house, because it is placed in the star of some planet which is placed in the 7th house. So moon will first give the result of the 7th house. Then the moon will give the result of the 6th house. Then the moon will give the result of the 5th house. Then the moon will give the result of the 12th house, the 2nd house. Then moon here, if you hover in this software, if you hover over this, if you hover over the planet, if you hover the cursor over the planet, it will give the subdivision. Moon is in the star of Jupiter, in the sign of Jupiter, star of Venus, and the sub of Jupiter. Moon is in the subdivision of Jupiter. So you also look at how moon's sublord is doing. Sublord of the moon is Jupiter. So let us say the sublord of moon here is Jupiter. So we saw the moon will give the result of 7, 6, 5, 12, and 2. And moon is in the sub of Jupiter, which means it will give the result of 6, 3, 2, 7, and 10. So we have got to combine the results of this and this.
Right.
So here, 7th lord, is something related to do with career. It's the 10th from the 10th.
Correct.
Okay. 12th lord is something to do with an overseas kind of a connection. 5th lord is connected with intellect and application of intellect. Second lord is the lord of family, education, speech, and all that. Okay. So moon will give all these results, but it will be modified. It will be modified by its sublord Jupiter. Okay. Jupiter is the Karaka of education. He is the Guru. And the Guru is strongly influencing the third house matters.
Right.
Strongly influencing the third house matters. It is influencing 10th house matters. It is influencing seventh house matters. So one has to then look at moon here. If you look at this moon, it is placed in 21 degrees Sagittarius.
Correct.
21 degrees Sagittarius is Purva Ashada.
Correct.
Correct. Now, Purva Ashada is the lord of Purva Ashada is Venus.
Venus, correct.
Yeah? Venus is placed here in Uttara Ashada. Uttara Ashada, as we have learnt in your course, is connected with Ganesha breaking off his tusk and doing some writing work. Taking down some dictation.
Absolutely.
From
Vyas.
Yeah. So taking down dictation. So I said, this also leads me to the same conclusion, because it's the same chart as the chart number 1 in the previous technique, that this also leads me to the same conclusion, though it is a little more difficult to come to this conclusion. But I reached the same conclusion before telling the native that, you are looking at some kind of an education related matter which is in your mind, which I can see as a result of analyzing this horoscope. So this is how you look at the second method, which is the moon method, in analyzing the mind of the native.
I think, Bharat, this kind of system gives you, I think, a greater clue in terms of knowing. If you know nakshatras, I think it can give you a significant clue. In case you know the very basics of nakshatras, I think, and if you know the mythology behind, I think it can give you a very significant clue.
Dr. Pai, after studying nakshatra, I am of the unshakable opinion. I mean, it's my personal opinion, but nevertheless, it's my opinion. I would like to share it, that unless you know nakshatras, Rashi-based astrology is really, really difficult. To find out clues in Rashi-based astrology without delving into nakshatra, is very, very tough. Fortunately, I got into astrology mainly through KP, which is a nakshatra-based system. But it talked about the star lord, but I was not taught what that star, whether Uttarashada is, this Ganesha breaking off his tusk and writing. Right. I was not taught that. So to me, I think anybody wants to learn astrology, it is absolutely so vital to know some amount of nakshatra. Without some amount of nakshatra, it is just groping in the dark. It is very difficult, really, really tough. So that is my take, on nakshatras, because nakshatras are really, in this case, Dr. Pai, I also had noticed at that point of time that Jupiter, which is the sublord of moon, it was in Hasta nakshatra. So something to do with hands and, all that.
Writing and research.
Writing. So Ganesha's task was pointing out to some writing work. Jupiter being the guru and pointing out to some writing, you can come to this conclusion, with a little bit of effort, but it's not so difficult. Okay.
And the beauty, Bharat, is what I like about KP is KP gives you these numbers.
Yes.
And if you can interpret these numbers with the houses and with the nakshatras, as you mentioned, I think it can give you a real good way of studying. There could be a separate system using KP, and then knowing a little bit about nakshatras. I think you can have a very fabulous system where you can really go deep into significant, path-breaking research work.
Correct. Now, this is a second example. Here, the moon is signifying houses 7, 6, 4, 7, 6, 4, 11, and Mars is signifying 2, 8, 5, and 10. So 4th house is education. 4th house is education. 11th house is gain. 8th house is research.
Correct.
And the second thing here is that moon is in the Purva Ashada. Moon
Correct.
is in Purva Ashada. Moon is in the Purva Ashada Nakshatra, which means that Purva Ashada is represented by a male monkey.
That's correct. Yeah.
A male monkey is always, the mind is not still at all. And the Purva Ashada, Nakshatra, as you know, is represented by the winnowing basket.
Absolutely.
Separating the grain from the chaff.
Yes.
And also, the sublord of moon is Mars, which is located at 13 degrees 41 minutes, 13 degrees 41 minutes in Satabhisha Nakshatra. So there is some amount of research which is education or something which is hidden.
Absolutely.
So again, this is a question on education, and I said that there is some connection with education, research, application, teaching assistant kind of a program that you would like to join. So it was a question relating to that.
Wow.
So yeah, so as we see that, just looking at the position of the moon, we can come to this conclusion that, the moon is very strongly linked with the mind. And if you are able to decipher where the moon is placed, then you can come to a conclusion as to what the querent is thinking. The only reason for looking at the querent's mind is to find out that the querent is thinking very strongly about the question, so that you can come to a reasonably good answer for the question. Because if the querent's mind is not engaged with the question, then you cannot come to a good prediction.
Bharat, can you tell me if you knew about this native? Because I'm seeing his Mars in Shatabisha. Was he going to do something related to technical subject that he wanted to go and study? And was it related anything to medicine or astronomy, or maybe technical engineering or something like that?
No, economics.
Economics, okay. Which is, I just want to see how is economics. I'm just looking at Mars here. The sublord of, and it's gone to Satabisha. So we know it's a closed. So yeah, maybe we need to look further into, it's conjoined with Ketu and Venus. We need to also.
Yeah. Correct. Then Dr. Pai, this is a combined method. This was, as I was as I was rehearsing this presentation yesterday, somebody came and said, "What are you doing?" So I said, "I have this presentation on mind reading." They said, "Wow, you know mind reading?" I said, "Yeah." They said, this person said, "I have a question which I want to ask you. Can you read my mind and tell me what is a question in my mind?" So this is only yesterday. And for this, I used my phone software. So which is 8 January 2017. And as we did in the first case, here there are 4 Saturns which are connecting in the sublords. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 Saturns. Now, that is houses 2, 4, 8, and 10. Now, we also see that the moon is representing houses 6, 10, 3, 1, and 2. And the moon is in the sub of Rahu. Moon is in the subdivision of Rahu. And Rahu is representing houses 8 and 2. Here.
So, Bharat, before you want to give us the answer, give me a opportunity to see what I could probably see from this. But you go on with your prediction, and then you can ask me before you tell me what was this, what was in his mind. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Let me see.
Okay. So what I saw, Dr. Pai, is 6th house. See, Saturn is connecting to 4th house. Okay, 4th house of, to me, all the Karakatvas, land, building, mother, those kind of things. 2nd house of income, money, wealth. 8th house of distress. You know, there is some distress. 8th house of some distress in the mind. 10th house of, let's say, professional prestige. Okay. 3rd house, moon was also signifying 3rd house. So here it was sublord of 4th. Sublord of 4th also signifying 3rd house.
Right.
So separation from the 4th house matters, essentially. Separation from 4th house matters. And 6th is the 3rd from the 4th as an analysis. And in the sub of Rahu, Rahu is giving distress. And 2nd house is the house of family and wealth. Rahu is also giving family and wealth. You know, it's connecting. So to be very honest, Dr. Pai, I was not really coming to a great conclusion as to what is happening here. Then I said, okay, let me go to the next step. So I said, where is Saturn is connecting 4 houses? Where is Saturn? Then I saw Saturn was in the star of Mercury, that is Jyeshta Nakshatra. Saturn is in Jyeshta Nakshatra, and Jyeshta Nakshatra Lord Mercury was in Mula. And bang, I got it. You know, in that Mula Nakshatra, I just got it. Because I knew the Deshkal Patra. Just by that Mula Nakshatra, I got the answer. But before you come to this conclusion, Dr. Pai, I also want you to look at Jupiter here. As of now, you don't know this. So I want to look at the ruling planet, which is Jupiter. Jupiter is the strongest ruling planet here.
Right.
And Jupiter is connecting only 2 houses, which is houses 7 and 11. 7 and 11. Okay? And Jupiter is in Chitra Nakshatra. Jupiter is in Chitra Nakshatra. Chitra Nakshatra is ruled by Mars. Mars is Bhumi Karaka.
Correct.
So I was able to connect actually Mula with Bhumi Karaka and the Deshkal Patra, and I said, bang, this is your answer. This is the question in your mind. So should I reveal the answer?
Let me try my luck. I would say probably this person wanted to sell his land or property, and that was something which was playing in his mind. Or it could be also related to something related to his job, or going away from his motherland to some other place in search of job.
See, Dr. Pai, you've been able to give this answer without knowing the Deshkal Patra. Okay? Absolutely blind. The native was thinking, you know, the native has a very green thumb. Very good at growing plants, especially in pots.
Wow.
So this native has a very beautiful terrace garden.
Wow.
And the native is actually considering giving up the terrace garden, which is giving up the home, and moving to a different place. And as a result of wanting to move to a different place, the native is distressed how the native will give up the terrace garden.
And that's the Mula connection that you are coming at.
Exactly. So if you know the Deshkal Patra, I said, bang, that is a root of the tree.
Yeah.
Is the reticulated root of the tree. And also, Dr. Pai, you know, Chitra Nakshatra is Vishwakarma, which is connected with parks and gardens.
Yeah, absolutely.
The designer of parks and gardens. So Deshkal Patra is very, very important. If you know the Deshkal Patra, it is very simple to identify from, you know, this as to what the question could be in the querent's mind.
Beautiful. I think this is fantastic. This is a great system, that you're teaching us, Bharat. I'm very, very pleased to know this. And you're connecting them with nakshatras and also the keys of nakshatras, knowing the deity, knowing the qualities
Yeah,
of this.
yeah,
Brilliant. Brilliant.
yeah. My astrology has grown several leaps and bounds after doing this nakshatra course, because all courses are very important, but
Yeah.
unless you know the finer nuances of the nakshatra, how do you, because everything is very broad based, so you
Absolutely.
have to use nakshatra to narrow it down.
Mm.
It's like an arrow which is saying look here,
Absolutely.
within this rashi, look here,
Yeah.
don't look here and there.
I think that's brilliant. Brilliant, Bharat.
Yeah. um, Now, Dr. Pai, there's another method which
Mm-hmm.
not another method, there is another part to this method
Mm-hmm.
where if the moon, let's say the moon method, if the moon is connected, let's say I'm doing a business negotiation,
Mm-hmm.
and the moon signifies so many things. We have seen the moon can signify so many things. But if the moon has a Venus connection, then I would always sweet talk. I will
Mm.
always sweet talk to progress the matter further. If
Mm.
the moon is connected with Mars, either in the sub of Mars or in the star of Mars, I will adopt a very tough posture while negotiating.
Mm.
I mean, there could be a very tough posture from the other guy's side also.
Mm.
If there is a Jupiter connection with the position of the moon, then it is quite possible one has to use legal recourse, to settle the matter. If
Mm.
there's a Mercury connection, then one has to address the problems through communication and correspondence.
Mm.
And if there's a Sun connection, then you have to use the involvement of a authority or the government or whatever the case may be. If moon is in the star of moon or in the sub of moon, then you can anticipate quick progress.
Mm.
If moon is connected with Saturn, then the matter is delayed and drags and it remains incomplete for a long time. So this is, part of my KP course. I learned if you're doing a business negotiation and if the moon is connected with some of these planets, then how you should, tackle the problem. You should use threats. You should have a hardened stance. You should do sweet talk. You can expect quick progress. You can expect slow progress. You should get a mediator in the form of an authority into the whole discussion. So, useful in a business negotiation kind of a situation.
And when you're saying connection, you're saying you're looking at the sublord of the moon.
No, either the star lord or the sublord. Moon is in the nakshatra of Venus or in the subdivision of Venus, wherever. So
Okay.
if there is a strong connection. So
Mm-hmm.
moon can be, for example, in the star of Mars and the sub of Venus, for
Right.
example.
Mm-hmm.
So you have got to use a combination of, sweet talk and hard stance, for example.
Mm.
It gives you clues how to tackle the matter.
Because it gives me, something tells me that, this technique should be used more frequently by, I think, even crisis negotiators, especially if there's a hostage
Yes.
crisis. What would be the way they would probably want to deal with the, people who are taken on hostage? What are their demands? So potentially, if you can look at this and then you can say what means you could probably use to better negotiate with these people who are taken
Correct.
hostage.
Correct.
Brilliant. This is great.
Then, Dr. Pai, there is another method which is using the hora of the time of the day when the question is examined by the astrologer.
Mm-hmm.
For example, this is the natal chart of the same native that we saw in chart number 1. That was a Prashna chart. This is a natal chart of that same native in the first chart. So I just used the same method to analyze the question. Okay, the question was analyzed by me on the 29th of December 2016 at 7:25:53 p.m. in Bangalore.
Mm.
So I've actually got a small hora calculator,
Mm.
which I created in Excel. So a hora is an hour. So the horas are, stacked in this way from the slowest moving planets to the fastest moving planets. So the stacking order of the horas are, suppose on a Saturday, the first hora will be a Saturn hora because Saturn is the slowest moving planet. Then will be the Jupiter hora, which is the second slowest moving planet. Third hora will be Mars hora, which is the third slowest moving planet, followed by Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Moon. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours in cycles of 7 hours. Okay. Now on Saturday, the first sub-hora will be of Saturn. The second sub-hora will, the hora will be of Saturn in the first hour. Sorry, my mistake.
Yeah.
In the first hour, the entire 1 hour, first hour will be Saturn hora. Then the sub-hora will be divided
by 7.
Saturn, Jupiter, divided by 7. Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury. Okay. So this is the way the hora is determined. So for example, on a Friday, the first 1 hour will be Venus hora.
That's correct.
First 1 hour, you are able to see the Excel chart, I hope.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
So first 1 hour will be Venus hora. Within Venus hora, the first sub-hora of about 8 minutes will be Venus hora. Then it will be the Mercury hora, because Mercury is slower than, faster than Venus. Then it will be Moon hora, and then it will be Saturn hora. It will follow that Saturn slowest to the fastest, that is Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, and Sun. Okay. So on this, in this question, the question came to me
7:25, 53.
7:25:53. 7:25:53 on a Thursday. 7:25:53 on a Thursday.
Was it Thursday or was it Saturday?
No, Thursday. 29th December.
Okay.
29th.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So if I go to Thursday, 7:25:53, 7:25:53, 19:25:53. It is Saturn hora and Sun sub-hora. Saturn main hora and Sun sub-hora in this 1925, because 1924, which is 7:24, Saturn hora starts and it ends at 1932. Of course, you need to key in the sunrise time, you need to key in the sunset time, and you need to key in the next day's sunrise time to calculate the hora for all the 24 hours. So I'm going to share this Excel chart. Okay. And I have blocked all these cells. I've kept only these 3 cells as data inputable. So people who use this chart can put the current day sunrise time here, sunset time here, and next day sunrise time here. And it will calculate the hora for the entire day. Okay, so in this case, it was Saturn main hora and the Sun sub-hora. So if we look at this chart, Saturn was in the 4th house. And Saturn was the lord, or is the lord of the 5th house also, in addition to the 4th house. And Saturn is conjunct with Rahu, which is the karaka of the secret matters or hidden matters. And the sub-hora lord was Sun, and Sun was in the nakshatra of Purva Bhadrapada. Sun is in the nakshatra of Purva Bhadrapada. Sun is, I think, in the 1 degree Pisces, which is Purva Bhadrapada.
That's correct.
Purva Bhadrapada lord is Jupiter. Jupiter is the karaka for education,
correct,
or teaching. And Jupiter is in the 10th house, giving honor, recognition, status. And Sun is here in the 6th house. Sun is in the 6th house in the star of Jupiter. Jupiter is in the 10th house, and Saturn is the owner of the 4th house of education and the 5th house of intellect, and it is also conjunct with Rahu, which is the co-lord of the 5th house, but it also indicates secret investigation and secret matters. So I just connected the 4th house, I just connected Jupiter, which is Guru, and I connected the 5th house, which is the use of intellect, and I connected the Deshkal Patra, and I came to the conclusion that this native has something to do with education and education related matters, which is the question being examined at this point of time. So which was exactly, I mean, it's the same native as chart number 1. So when we try and analyze the mind of the native, we have got to use all these 3 techniques, because one technique may give you incomplete results, but if you combine the power of all the 3 techniques, then you can come to almost an unshakable conclusion.
Yeah, so now what you're going to use in this technique is you're going to use the sub-hora and the hora, and the question, or the querent has a question in his mind, and then you would superimpose that on the Rashi chart of
the natal Rashi chart. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think this is an absolutely fabulous technique. Why I'm telling you that is, you must be aware that I've working with, I've built an app now, which also gives you the hora. Now, what you're giving me an idea is I would probably want to go a little deeper and do the sub-hora also, so that on the phone, you don't need a software or an Excel sheet. Anytime you're traveling anywhere or something, you can do that. And you can also use it in the Prashna chart, I feel.
Exactly, Dr. Pai. Dr. Pai, if that can be made available, to me, I had to create this Excel, I do it manually, this sub-hora on a piece of paper I calculate. But for the purpose of this presentation, because people would want to use it, I cannot have a presentation without this Excel. So I had to create this Excel, and it took me some 5 days to make this Excel, because all the calculations of date and time is quite a cumbersome, with the formulas are quite cumbersome. But nevertheless, I'm going to share it. But if your Cosmic Insights app can have the sub-hora, it's a deadly predictive tool. If you can know the sub-hora along with the natal chart, it's absolutely a deadly predictive tool.
I can, I've not used it, but just knowing the technique, I can tell you, this is going to work like magic. This technique is going to work absolutely brilliantly, because I have used even Kaksha method. Have you know about the Kaksha method? It's the same.
I learned it. Yeah, I learned it in the BSP course.
BSP course, yeah. So that's the same method that you're using here with the sub-hora lord.
Yes.
With the hora and the sub-hora, I think that could be, more research can be done, and I'm sure it could give you, and with the knowledge of nakshatras. Right?
Yes.
Now, if I have to go to the chart, can you show me the chart? Of that native?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now look, it's here, the hora is of the sun, right? The hora of the Saturn. Now, Saturn, you see, it is sitting in Shravana Nakshatra. But
correct.
It is sitting in Abhijit, the virtual Abhijit.
Correct.
Okay, it's just after the last pada of Uttarashada, the 4th pada, and then you just started 1/15 of the first pada of, or rather 1/15 of the Shravana Nakshatra becomes Abhijit. So it was sitting in a very, very strong position in the 4th house. So obviously he would probably go to a very prestigious university.
Correct.
He would
which is a fact.
Okay. And then you see here, you see the hora of the sun. Okay, the sub-hora of the sun. The sun has gone into Purva Bhadrapada, and you said, if you see the dispositor of the sun, or rather, the nakshatra lord, is Jupiter. Jupiter is in Pushya, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Pusher.
Pusher.
Yes.
Again, nourishment and nurturing. So this again gives you another great clue. And being in the 10th house, it's very powerful.
Correct.
So I think this native would have gone into a very great university, and he would, will establish himself in a great way in the research
And
institute or whatever.
the other thing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Jupiter is aspecting, there's a double transit, Jupiter Saturn in the 4th house of education.
Absolutely.
So, the 4th house matters become really, really strong in that time. Yes.
Absolutely. I think this is a beautiful system, Bharat. I really like this. I know it's very, very simple, but it can give you some great clues when the question was asked. Beautiful.
Dr. Pai, I would just like to take a few minutes
Sure.
in just discussing this concept of Deshkal Patra. You see, in India today, if you have to open a bank account, you need to give your PAN card, you need to give your Aadhaar card, you need to give your photograph, you need to give age proof, you need to give address proof. Only after giving all this can you open a bank account. If you go to a doctor, a good doctor, the doctor will want to know everything about your family history. Did your mother have diabetes? Did your father have hypertension? Was there some genetic disorder? Before a good doctor really starts treating the patient. But if an astrologer asks the querent, I want to know all about you before I, look at your horoscope, the querent thinks, oh, he's taking all the details from me. What is a big deal?
Absolutely.
I say, you don't think it's a big deal when the doctor quizzes you for 45 minutes. My homeopath, when I went to him for the first time, he wanted to know, do you like to drink your tea hot or you like to drink it cold? Do you like to eat warm rice or you eat cold rice? He quizzed me for 45 minutes. Even allopathic doctors, they want to know a fair bit of information about you before they start a line of treatment. But if an astrologer asks 10 questions, nobody is willing to give. They say, oh, you're an astrologer, you should know all this. How do I know all this? I am not, Bhagwan to give you all these answers. I need to know your background. I never, Dr. Pai, answer any question unless I know the Deshkal Patra. Because, as you know, I am only hobby. So whoever comes to me, I know some degree of what is going on in their lives. And that is very important to me. And I'm saying that in today's day and age, even if you don't know somebody, please Google that somebody. If you've got an email from somebody asking you a question, please put that email ID in Google and you will get to know a fair detail, either from LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or somewhere, you will get a fair degree. I don't think we should predict without knowing the Deshkal Patra, because to me, the Deshkal Patra is the single most important tool in the kit of the astrologer. If the ninth house becomes active, how do I know whether he is going to go on a business trip or he is going to go on a pilgrimage? How do I know? I have to take that call. No, if I know the call, if I know the background, I will take a call. If I don't know the background, so I think all astrologers must know their customers very well or know the clients very well. I don't think we should predict without. We should not be shy of asking 10 questions based on what the querent wants. Second is, in all the software that I mentioned, please use KP Ainamsa. Don't use Lyri Ainamsa, because these are all essentially KP techniques. Of course, your birth chart, the final technique of the sub-hora, you can use whatever you want. Don't use this technique for something which is silly. Astrology is a divine science. It is not meant to be used, in a random and haphazard manner for some non-essential questions. Take a question only when a querent has a strong desire to know. Cast the chart of the ruling planets only if you are ready to predict. If you're not ready to predict, don't cast the ruling planets. Don't find out the ruling planets. You answer the question immediately after you find out the ruling planets. Don't postpone the answering of the question. Don't answer any question unless you have spent 2 sunrises at a particular location. And don't predict from a moving car. So I think these are some caveats. The sub-hora calculator, which I've just created as an Excel chart, can be downloaded from here. It is a Dropbox link you can download. The Cosmic Insights app, which gives all the hora, and it gives the meaning of every hora. What is each hora what does each hora mean? It is available in the Play Store and the App Store.
Mm-hmm.
There is another YouTube session on your channel, How to Predict Without Knowing Astrology. There, the ruling planets concept and the sublord concept has been explained in a greater detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, by me, yes. And then there is this punch of the sub-hora. It is on the Saptarishi's astrology website. All those who are interested in the sub-hora technique must go and read that. It's a very nice article written by this gentleman many years back. And there are some other 2-3 things that you can read if you are interested in these techniques. So with that, I come to an end of this session.
Bharat, you might have come to the end of your session, but I think this is going to start a new journey in many of our lives, because this is the starting point of what you've taught us is going to give us new ways of looking at a chart. Now, there's a good point that you made, Bharat, is about Desha Kala Patra and the KYC. Now, this is a very, I'm a strong believer that, if you want to get the right answers for your questions, then don't run to 10 astrologers, because you'll be more confused.
Yes.
So I would still suggest to go to maybe the astrologer whom you felt, in the past that you've gone to and you felt the comfort. Don't go to 10 astrologers, go to that astrologer, because he might have some background about you. He might know, he must have done a reading for you. Okay, and maybe if you are in 2 minds, maybe you can consult another astrologer. But I want to tell all my viewers, please do not keep, like you go pub hopping, from one pub to another on a like a binge drinking. This is what is binge drinking. If you want to go hopping from one place to another, you become more confused. So it's like you have a general physician, you have a family physician that you always go to, and because your say your grandfather, your father, and you have gone to the same doctor, he has your medical history. So he wouldn't be spending 45 minutes inquiring you into giving you a good diagnosis. He knows what your family history is, and that's why he would be able to advise you. So always rely on a family astrologer, and that is what the parampara was in the past. You always used to go to the family astrologer. But today, with Facebook, YouTube, social media, and watching these videos, people think that, okay, let me go to this astrologer, let me see if he's going to give me a different answer. But somebody who's new, who has nothing to know about your background, what you've gone through, it's very difficult for the best of the astrologers to make a prediction. And you're looking for somebody who can, you pay them a lot of money and then you say, I want to solve all my problems. That is not going to happen. So I think, these sort of methods, these are snapshot methods that you can actually use to find out what the query of the querent is, probe him better, and then you will be able to, get to the point very quickly. And as you have mentioned, Bharat, unless you know what the question the querent has and you're completely way off from the question, maybe you should stop reading the chart there, because you're not connected or you're not aligned with that person.
Correct.
I think you should just stop. So many of the astrologers believe that if I have a chart in front of me, I have to give a prediction. Sometimes, if you're not aligned, it makes sense to tell to the person, sorry, maybe another time you can come down, or maybe come after some time later. Maybe let me see if I can connect with this chart. Because everything that you do when you do a reading, you are connecting yourself to the universe, and you are just becoming a medium to interpret what is desire of that person. So what is he trying to listen from the universe? So that is why it's a very key point for me is to tell people whenever, I don't do professional readings for the same reason, because you do not know who your customer is. I do not know the KYC of the customer, what their background is, what they've been doing. So that is why you spend undue amount of time in spending your, burning yourself trying to address their issue. And many a times there is heartburn because the astrologer didn't give me a good response, or he didn't give me a good reading. That's because you're not connected to him.
Correct.
And your desire might not be there because you just wanted to go for entertainment's sake, and you just wanted to find out, mundane event in your life. And that is when you don't get the right answers. So I think, all the caveats that you mentioned are very, very key, and that can be applied by, I think, every astrologer, irrespective of whether they're going to read for KP or not. For example, you say, if you're going to a new place, at least spend two sunrises in that place to acclimatize your cells to that energies of that place. And also, I keep telling, maybe if you keep doing your chart readings from a particular place in your house, I think you'll be giving greater readings. Rather than changing your place very frequently, it might be one place that you sit and you constantly give readings. And that's why you see many of the village astrologers, they have their gaddi, they have their place where they sit. They will never move from that. They wouldn't go to a kitchen and drinking coffee. They won't give you a reading. They'll always sit in the place because that place could have the energy that they have. They could feel the energies. So, Bharat, this is a very important lesson. Thank you very much. These are very valuable lessons. It's not only about reading the mind, it's about knowing astrology as a greater science that we can connect ourselves to and be able to interpret what it is, right? So thank you very much, Bharat. This was a fantastic lesson as always. You always come and give us, eye-opening lessons. And that's why, I just love to sit and listen. And definitely, I'm going to go back to my technical teams to see how we can get the sub-hora lord in the app. So you don't have to really, carry this Excel sheet.
Yes.
Maybe,
yes.
Yeah, you should be able to just flip through your phone and look at that. But there's another thing that I want to tell my viewers, and this is through personal experience, Bharat, and this is something I would like to share, is never try to make a reading from the phone or from the screen of a laptop. And this was I learned from Professor A.V. Sundaram. He says you have to create the chart with your hand. You can take a software, astro software, to create the chart, but never read it through that medium, because that is Rahu. So there will be some element of illusion, there will be some element of Maya still there. So, but when you draw the same chart, look at that from the laptop or from your computer or from your phone, draw it up, because that becomes a yantra, and the yantra will speak to you. Okay, many of us, we display it on the screen and then we try to read it from the screen. But he says, no, draw that, put all the planets, and then you start reading from that, piece of paper that you have. It might be the back of the envelope, that's fine. But when you draw it, that becomes like a yantra that has to speak to you. And we have to connect to that. That's the element. And it is your yantra because you have drawn that. So try these simple techniques, what even Bharat has mentioned. I think these are great techniques. And also the caveats, I think they're also very important. So thank you very, very much, Bharat. This was a fantastic lesson.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pai. As usual, it is always an honor to be here. And the amount of things that I've learned from you are incredible. Thank you very much.
It's always, I also learn so much from getting people on my channel. And that's why I love doing these interviews, because every time somebody comes, and I know that this is happening over and over again, ever since Rahu has moved into Magha, I have seen that top class information and top class videos you would see coming out on YouTube. It's not only my channel. I'm saying go on any channel, any astrologer's channel, you'll find some top class videos coming out in the last month or so. Ever since Rahu has moved, I think roughly about the 10th of December. Go on any YouTube astrologer's channel and see, you would see some stunning videos, right? So thank you again. So
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye, Dr. Pai.